Every day, citizens around the country are faced with new dilemmas. Dilemmas that affect them profoundly. Whether it's injustice, discrimination, falling through the cracks, scandals and cronyism, balances of power, ethics, religious freedoms, state versus citizens, and unfunded mandates, and the list goes on and on and on. Welcome to Speak Up. It's directed at those who have fallen through the cracks, and it gives them a voice. It's your turn to speak up, to stand up and fight back. Welcome to Speak Up. I'm Kevin Avard, your host, and today we're going to be talking to Melissa O'Brien. Mm-hmm. And Melissa, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Where are you from?
Rochester, New Hampshire.
Rochester, New Hampshire. Mm-hmm. We had a recent guest from Rochester.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, the officer?
Yeah, Officer Macchione, I think.
I believe it's Anthony Macchione, yeah.
Yeah, we're probably going to have him back on the show again, I'm pretty sure.
That's
so,
good.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You have an interesting story.
Interesting. That's one way to put it.
You said something off camera, mm-hmm. and I wanted to start off. I know it's not in order, but you said something about a stigma.
Yes.
And it had to do with mothers being separated from their children, mm-hmm. and what accompanies that. Tell me a little bit about the stigma. You've been separated from both your children. Now you have an 18-year-older. Mm-hmm. She's here in the audience. Mm-hmm. And you're communicating, mm-hmm. everything's good, but you have a 15-year-old daughter that you haven't seen for
2 years.
2 years. The stigma is, what did that mother do?
Absolutely.
Right. And do you get this question a lot?
I get more of like the looks, like the weird looks, like.
Right. What did you do?
Right. Like, do you do drugs? Did you beat them? Did you neglect them? Or, you know.
Right. And to be fair, I asked your daughter off camera the very questions. How much does your mom beat you? Oh, she doesn't beat me.
You did ask her?
I did ask her, yeah. Did she do drugs? No, she didn't do drugs. Did she swear at you? No. Okay. There are other questions, you know.
Right.
And her answers was no. And your mom's in the audience as well. Mm-hmm. And she said, no, she's a good mom. Mm-hmm. So there was a divorce.
Correct.
And whatever happened there, that's we're not sure. But there was a period after in the litigation or in the process is where there was an ex parte.
Correct.
And take us from that point.
The very first one, there's been several. The first one, unfortunately, I just would like to point this out before I forget. What happens is I could go tomorrow and apply for an ex parte, petition for an ex parte, make up a bunch of things, and then it gets kind of rubber stamped, and it's never the same judge. Like, I've had a marital master for a few years, but he's not the one that will, it's like a sitting judge that's like and so they'll sign it no matter what. I understand that to be safe. But then when you go for the hearing, it's a completely separate judge. So people like my ex-husband learned really fast that you can utilize that so that went on for many years, the ex partes.
Give our audience who don't know what the courts, give the audience, what is an ex parte?
An emergency. It's asking the court for, there's some emergency. There's some, my children are with their mother and she's drunk and they're out it's an emergency situation where you need to remove the children immediately. It's supposed to be utilized in emergencies.
Okay, so if it's not being used in an emergency, it's pretty much being abused.
Correct.
Now, in other conversations with other people, I've had people say, well, they got a restraining order.
It's the same thing.
Right. Is that what is used for the restraining order, an ex parte? You go to the court. And,
typically.
You want to railroad your ex, and the first one who gets there wins.
Correct.
Right.
First one to strike.
All right. So he struck first. You got an ex parte. It was an emergency hearing.
Yes.
And what was?
Well, and I would just like to say really quick that what happens is the sheriff comes to the home. We were eating dinner, and the children are removed, and it's traumatic, and it's stressful, and it causes all kinds of psychological damage. So it's a little bit more severe than the restraining order is also, it's the same concept, but now we're talking about little children who are ripped out of their homes, who don't know what, and the mom's going, or the dad, or whoever.
No guardian ad litem on the scene.
No, this is an emergency. Go to court at 3:45 because they close at 4, and at 4:30 the sheriff's at the person's home taking their children away. because you said whatever you said, you know, I mean.
May I ask what the emergency was? Or
The
what-
first
what was
one,
claimed?
my then boyfriend he was divorcing his wife and was being accused of felonious sexual assault. So my children's father claimed he didn't know, when in fact he did know, because I was communicating with him and he was watching the kids so I could drive him to lawyers' appointments. But we actually fought about child support, and then he went to the court and said it was about.
Okay, and was there an investigation?
No, oh no, you mean by the family court or anybody, or no?
Oh,
No.
so there's an accusation.
That's all there ever is. There's no
And
proof.
in an ex parte of sexual assault. So,
Oh no, he didn't accuse, not with, I'm sorry if I confused you. He just said that I was living with somebody that was accused of that with some other, so he
Okay. was
was concerned about our children. That's how he kind of, that's the
Interesting.
angle he used.
so the children were removed just by an accusation, and there was no investigation regarding the claims to that accusation.
None, no.
You would think that if somebody was being accused of sexual assault, that they would be registered as a sex offender.
Well, he hadn't been convicted of anything. It was like he had just gotten accused and arrested, and actually the children were removed on a Friday, and Saturday he left my home. I made him leave because I immediately went to the court and was like, wait, you know, and so.
Is he still around?
Oh, he got convicted.
Oh, he
This
did.
was 10 years ago, 8 years ago, so.
Okay.
I divorced him shortly after that, and then my whole life turned into the fight for the kids. And
So there is nobody that is around the children at this time that is a threat?
no,
Okay.
no.
Completely out of the life?
I also immediately took them to counseling too, when all that
Right.
transpired, so that, to make sure nothing was.
All right, so you eventually did get the children back at some point?
Yes,
Okay.
I did.
So take us a little further into the story. Now, how old are the children when they were?
I think when this all first started, I think you were 12. My youngest, sorry. She was.
That's all right.
You wanna laugh.
There's somebody in the audience.
Sorry.
Okay, that's fine.
12 and maybe 9 and 12. They were young.
Okay.
And my lawyer at the time had subpoenaed it's a deposition. I don't know if you know, but for my ex-husband to come into his office for a deposition to be deposed because he knew there were certain things about his ex parte that weren't truthful. So he was going to have him, and there's a court stenographer that's paid for. It's like $350 that I paid for, to come to my lawyer's office and be questioned to try to get new evidence to get a new trial. And my ex didn't want to go, so he agreed to sign a stipulation stating that I could have the children back, to get out of the deposition.
Right.
So for a while, I had the children back, and things were fine. And at some point, my then boyfriend was convicted, and we were visiting him at the prison for like Christmas stuff, you know, or whatever. And that's when that was the second ex parte, because I was taking them to visit him at the prison. And my lawyer he made an argument that it's the prison. There's armed guards there. It's a family environment, you know.
Right.
But that was enough. So then, understandable, now that it's all been years, I understand where the court's position was on that. But that was the second ex parte, and it's gone on. I don't even know. I've lost count. There's probably been at least 10.
Is he still part of your life?
No.
Right.
I divorced him like way back.
Right. No, I mean the boyfriend.
No.
No. Okay.
No.
So now at this point, I guess I'm trying to get a handle on why the children are still. You know, what was the final blow that separated you from your children?
Okay, so after that, they went back to their fathers. I, for like 2.5 years, contested the custody. I kept fighting. My family helped me pay for attorneys, and just got nowhere. It just seemed like it got worse.
What was the custody settlement? Was it he had full custody?
He had, full sole custody, and I had visitation. So I disputed that for a few years, and then he filed so many ex partes that I ended up having to just defend my visitation, and I was so tired it was exhausting, so I stopped trying to dispute custody and just kept maintaining my visits. It's like every 6 months or so I had to go and defend my visits. So, and I mean, this is where the court, I think, makes a mistake, is my ex-husband, my children's father, wanted to go on vacation, so the court order wasn't written right that he could do that. He wanted to go to Mississippi or something. So he decided to, you know, they were due home at like 1 in the afternoon, and at 10 in the morning, the sheriff was there taking them away. And that's because he goes to the court and he says what he wants to, and then they just, okay. And
All right, so let me ask you, how many ex partes were there?
I want to say between 6 and 10.
What was the general theme of each ex parte?
Concern for the children. Not any. It was all really kind of vague.
Was it because of who
vague.
you're associated with?
No. In the beginning, it was. In the
Right,
beginning, it was the
though
boyfriend.
that's gone. The guy's in prison. Somebody's out of the way.
Right.
Now we're jumping forward. There are at least 10 ex partes.
6 to 10.
6 to 10.
Yep.
And the general theme on each one of them was.
It ranged. It was. I apologize that I don't have it more.
Well, what would be like the first, the most flagrant?
Just that concern for the children, that, I'm not answering the phone and that's uncommon for me. Things like that. Like he would say that he had tried to call the girls for 3 or 4 days, or I don't know. And it wasn't true. I mean, I would go to court and show my phone records, which were ignored. But just that I was acting weird or, ignoring him. It didn't really matter. It was always something different.
So you would bring evidence to the court and
Absolutely.
The court didn't listen to you?
Absolutely. I would have solid proof where he would have hearsay, and I got ignored. I don't know why. I don't have any idea why that happened. But
so he's making claims that he was trying to call, maybe in some instances, and you would have the proof that no, the phones were available. Now, are you able to talk to your daughter?
Oh, not at all. I can't even send her a Christmas card.
All right. So this
My youngest daughter, you mean?
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out the missing pieces here. Why would the courts separate you from what is the grounds?
Recently, or are we back in the?
Well, right now. Why are you separated from?
So after, and this isn't going to sound that great, but after many years of this battle with the getting nowhere and doors slammed in my face, I mean, to give you a little idea, I've gone to guidance counselors, school nurses. I've talked to anybody and everybody. I've written to the governor. I've, help me, help me, help me. So, it's not the.
Did you pay for all those services?
What do you mean pay for them? I would write to people and talk to them and go in.
What counselors, I mean?
Oh, of course, yeah. If I was in counseling or the children were in therapy, I would communicate with people. Their guidance counselors, the school resource officers. I mean, anybody I could to try to, rally together for the children and I to help us. And so, I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, that's okay.
But you went through counselors, and you've gone through the system. You went through the governor, and.
Oh, I know. You were asking me about how we got here.
Right.
Okay, so my last husband, after years and years of this, people hear the story and they're like just disgusted. They can't believe what's gone on. I mean, this isn't a family who was abusive. I'm not abusive to my children. I don't even drink, I don't think they've ever even seen me drunk. It's just not that kind of environment. They were read stories. They were tucked in. I might cry. So my last husband did the wrong thing, and he promised me he was just going to talk to me. We were arguing about my children not getting any medical. They hadn't, since they left my care in 2005, I think they went to the doctors once, no dental. And there's good insurance, so there was no. So we were arguing about that, and my last husband said, well, take me to his work. I just want to talk to him, because you can't get these people on the phone. You can't write to them, as in they accuse you of them. So I did, and he ended up punching him in the face. And this is why we're here today. Of course, he ran right to the courthouse. He didn't want to go to the hospital or anything. He went right to the courthouse. Stop visitation, stop contact. And I masterminded. I drove him there, and we planned it, and which was all, I was charged with second-degree assault, and it's all gone.
You were
now.
charged with it?
Correct.
Okay.
Never got out of the car.
Were you convicted?
No, it was dismissed twice. The state tried to charge.
So if the charges against you, the mother, were dismissed, why are you separated from your child?
I have no idea. My question in the very beginning was, why am I now, while I'm waiting to be convicted? That's all. Where's my due process? I haven't been charged with, convicted of anything. Why can't I talk to her for 2 years while we're waiting? And I just, no contact. No one. My mother, my brother.
You're not allowed to say anything at all?
If I see her in Walmart and I want to give her a hug, I will probably go to jail. I don't know what.
Is there a restraining order?
No, but it's the family court, and I'm pretty sure they can sanction me or hold me in contempt.
Do children visit their fathers or mothers in prison?
Absolutely.
They do?
It's actually very family-oriented.
Right. But you are not allowed to see her. Interesting. So you have a mom?
Correct.
She's in the audience. And how about her? Is she allowed to see the child?
She's filed twice for grandparent visitation when all of this began. My thinking was someone needs to be in contact with the children, someone in the family. And
right.
Both times denied. The first time it was denied pending my charges to see what happened with my case. And then it was readdressed. My mother readdressed it when that all went away. And the second time, I believe, I haven't even read, I couldn't bring myself to read the court order, but I believe it was denied. I'm not really sure. I'm not really clear on it because it doesn't make any sense.
Who is the judge working, or marital master?
Marital master Robert J. Foley out of Stratford County.
So it's a marital master who is, are you married now?
No.
Okay, so you're divorced. So I'm questioning, how many times have you gone before the marital master after the divorce went through?
I can't even tell. I mean, we've had hundreds of hearings, probably. Well, at least 100, maybe. I mean, this has been 8 years of this litigation. Like, I mean, I can give you a little bit of an example. Like, you know, my ex would pull an ex parte saying that I was pulling the kids out of school or something. Like, I did it 18 times. And then I would go to court. I would go to the school, get their records, you know, and go to the court and prove, no, that's not true. This isn't true. These were school days. These were snow days. And, you know, so these are some of the silly reasons, like, you know.
I'm going to ask you an off-the-topic question. If you were a legislator, what would you do with these ex partes?
I would make some sort of law that the same judge that sits on the case has to be the one to sign. You know, they can't have a judge that's from Merrimack County come to Stratford County and just rubber stamp these all day. I think that's what they do. They just come for the day and, you know, like sign orders and hear restraining orders and ex partes. I mean, these are children. We should have some sort of burden of proof. There shouldn't just be, well, my ex is, you know, doing drugs down the street. I need to go get my children. It should be a little bit more.
And yet, on the other hand, if there are some emergencies which
Absolutely
are legitimate, so how do we fix this?
I'm not really sure. That's a good, because I understand the court's position. I do. In you know, the interest of the children, it's always best to, you know, be cautious. But then what do you do about the people that are, you know, that now have.
But there should be an evidentiary hearing right away.
Absolutely.
Right. And if it is fallacious accusation, there should be a consequence to that.
Correct.
Right.
I do agree. I think that if you find that one party is untruthful, you know, there should be some sort of consequence. That people would stop abusing that then.
So has on all these ex partes, on any of, there were evidentiary hearings?
Correct.
Okay.
Eventually.
And they were all unfounded.
Correct.
And there was a history of this, and there was time. That's what you brought documentation.
Pattern.
Right. So none of the marital masters or judges looked at this?
I'm not sure. You know, it's really bizarre. You go to the hearing and you have all these expectations and you get 15 minutes, and it's kind of a hostile environment. It's not, you know, you don't really feel safe. You feel like outnumbered. And
Did you have an attorney?
A few times I did until my family helped me as much as they could, and then eventually you just don't. It's very expensive. Family court is very expensive.
Right. I'm not sure that why your parents though would not be seeing the children either. Do they do drugs?
No. My mother's never even had a parking ticket.
Okay, I was just going to ask, is she a felon?
No, nobody. I don't think anyone in my family is a felon, actually.
All right.
We all have degrees from college. I have a degree from college.
I am kind of being facetious.
I know you are.
Right. Well, so where do we go from here? What are you waiting for now? Where are you in the process?
I am deadlocked. I don't know why. I've looked at my file again today. I went to the courthouse and looked at my file, and it's unclear to me to this day why I was told, Marital Master Foley told me that I'm not allowed to even file a motion. The clerk, it says in one of my court orders, the clerk will not accept a motion from me. And I'm pretty sure that my federal rights trump.
Do you have that in documentation?
I do, actually.
That he will not let you even file a motion?
Melissa O'Brien shall not file with the court a request for parenting relief or any kind, and the clerk's office shall not accept any such relief.
Can I see that real?
I was under the impression that you couldn't file a motion if you were frivolously filing them, trying to delay hearings or annoy the other litigant. But you know, my ex would file something and I would answer him. I would respond. I didn't ever initiate the pleadings. So when my oldest daughter was 15, there was an incident that happened at her dad's that I don't really need to get into, but she came to my home for a visit and said, I'm not going back. And I said, okay, well then you need to, because at this point I had recognized that I'm not being listened to. So I said, then you need to be mature enough to call, the guardian ad litem at the time was Timothy Cunningham, And so she called him, she filed, my mother took her to the courthouse. I didn't even want to drive her to the courthouse. My mother took her to the courthouse, she filed her own motion to leave her father's and come stay with me. It was denied. They said she didn't have standing in the case, which I thought was ironic because the whole thing was about her.
And that's documented that she said she didn't have standing.
Yes, her order was denied, and that's when so then, because she came to my house, of course my ex did the ex parte, got her out of school, and then there was another hearing, and at that hearing I was ordered to get a psychological evaluation.
Which I just read. I was going to ask
I knew you were
about
going to
that.
ask me, that's why I was getting to that. So at that hearing I had stated, why don't we both get one? Because the reason there was some stuff that was questionable about his parenting that brought us to that place. So I was unclear as to why. I was okay with it. I said, but why not both? You know, I'm not here. This is stuff I wouldn't make this up. My daughter wrote it. There was a school paper she had written that I submitted as evidence to prove what we were saying. And you know, at that point I had been told where to live, when to work, who I could hang out with.
By who?
The courts, through my ex. My ex would, you know, I mean, this was getting to a point where
These are court orders?
Oh yeah, everything became a part of the court order. He would walk into court and say that I stole his mail, and then I had to meet my children at the police station. You know, and that he
Were you convicted of stealing mail? No. Which is a federal offense.
No, he would never even, you know, go to the police. He just would walk into court.
I believe that's a Class B felony.
I'm pretty sure it's federal offense, yeah.
So, and you were never convicted of that?
No.
It was just the accusations, and then the courts are ruling on these.
And then
so
put it in a court order.
Let's get back to the psychological evaluation. Did you get one?
I did not. I absolutely at that point was fed up with being told and I was unclear as to why he didn't also, like I would have agreed if it would have been both of us, but for just me, for defending my daughter and supporting her, I think at that point I was burnt out. I was just...
Right.
And then at one point I went back to court, and it's on record, I said, I just can't afford, I simply can't afford, you know, my insurance, it's in anywhere from $500 to $1,000. And at that point, then the next court order was, you have to have one, and you have to have one with this doctor, a specific doctor. So I called that doctor, and he's $1,000 cash.
Right.
Only.
So is it possible that this is turning it into quite the industry?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a leading question. So you're having to fork out a lot of money. Did you make more? Are you employed?
Absolutely not. No, I haven't worked for like 3 years.
Prior to this?
I was in LNA for 15 years. I made actually very good money.
Yeah. Were you making more money than your husband?
No. You mean my children's father?
Yeah.
No, he makes very good money.
Right.
So compared to me, he does.
Did you have to pay child support?
I do. Yeah.
And are you current with that?
I have some arrears, but
Yeah.
I'm not. It's not horrible.
So, but you're not allowed to see your child?
Nope. I can't even call her. I haven't heard my daughter's voice since January 5th, 2011. My other daughter can't talk to her sister, and that's really sad. They've never been separated.
Is that a court order?
No.
Why can't your daughter talk to her sister?
Nobody can, because once they do, like if my daughter tries to have contact with my other daughter, then my ex will turn all of this onto her, but you know.
Is that something he indicated to her?
We all know. And I don't know, it's kind of important to tell you that my oldest daughter, when she left the home, she ended up needing to get a restraining order on her father's girlfriend or wife. And so part of the reason I'm telling you this is because when we went to court when she was 15, and they said, you need a psychological evaluation, the very things that I was supporting her for are what she came out and said when she was 18. And she said, no, these are the things that happen in this home, and I don't feel safe. And this court granted her the restraining order, not only the temporary, it's actually a domestic violence petition, it's more severe.
The stepmother.
So this same court granted her the final restraining order, which was, domestic violence, good for an entire year. So they're acknowledging that, yes, these abuses did happen.
And yet your other daughter is still there.
Correct, in the abusive environment, and I'm the one who needs the psych eval, and I'm the one who can't have, or my mother can't have contact with my daughter.
And you have the documentation for that.
Correct. It's bizarre. They're by granting my daughter's restraint, they're acknowledging that there's, you know, they're giving us the proof that there's documentation that there is abuse in that home, whereas in my home there's none.
Or at least preponderance of evidence that there is, right?
Actually, in the court order, it says you were abused by so-and-so. You were assaulted, so.
Did DCYF get involved with that?
I believe they did. I believe my mother.
Was there a finding?
I don't think so. I'm not sure, but that was prior to the court order coming out.
Right. So you're carrying the load of the stigma of the bad mother syndrome, and you're being separated from your other daughter in an environment where a restraining order is actually in force from your oldest daughter. You're told not to file a motion, and based on what I think I read is because until you get the psychological evaluation.
Correct.
So that is
That I can't afford.
that you can't afford. Interesting. Do you mind if I interview your mom for
No, that
a
would be
minute?
great.
All right, we'll be right back, and we'll interview your mom.
Thank you.
Hi, we're back with Cheryl Cox. Now you're the mother to Melissa O'Brien,
Yes.
and obviously we're continuing with the program, and I just want to talk a little bit about you and how that you as a grandparent have been separated from your grandchildren as a direct result of all of this. And I've asked, you haven't committed any crimes.
No.
There's no violent history in your background.
No.
Child abuse.
None.
You're not a felon.
No.
You don't pack a gun and.
No, I don't even know how to hold a gun.
Okay.
No.
All right. Well, I'm again being a little tongue-in-cheek on that, but the reason I'm asking is you filed a motion with the
Yes.
courts.
Grandparent visitation.
All right. And how many motions did you file?
In October of 2011, I filed a motion because their father was not letting us talk to them. We'd call several times. There's myself, my husband, and then I have 2 children in their 20s, so they would be the girl's aunt and uncle that they're very, very close with.
Do they
And-
communicate with the children?
Oh, yes, yes. They're very close, the 2 girls and their aunt and uncle. And so he wouldn't let us talk to them. I would go up to the house and knock on the door, and he'd slam the door in our face. So enough is enough. I filed grandparent visitation, and it was denied
By who?
by the court, family court.
Was there a particular
Marital
judge?
Master Foley.
Okay.
The father would go in there. This was denied, the reason being because at the time their mother was pending these charges that she was involved, as she said, with her ex-husband punching their father in the
Right.
face. So I had nothing to do with that.
You didn't encourage it?
Didn't even live there. I lived far, far away out of a different county.
Right.
Didn't encourage it. And the father went in there crying that, oh, they're afraid they're going to be interrogated, and it's not a good environment. It would stress them out. And I had brought to the court emails between the father and I when things were good, and him saying, oh, yes, you can have them at Christmas. They love being with you. There's never any stress down there. And I showed the court this.
Did they look at it?
Yes, he took it. And the father didn't deny that he had sent those emails back and forth to me, but denied.
On what grounds?
Visitation.
On what grounds?
That he felt it was better for the children not to be put in the middle, basically. Because Melissa
did he cite
was...
a law? Did he cite a rule, or was it just his opinion?
It was RSA, I want to say 141 or something was what he was basing it on, was something detrimental to the children or interfering with parenting, but it didn't fit the criteria.
And you had that documentation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you filed another motion?
So then, not seeing my grandchildren again, no contact.
For how long?
Oh, now it's a year and a half. Melissa was not convicted, everything thrown out, so I said, okay, I'm going to try again. So then August this year, 2012, I filed a grandparent visitation again. And so what the judge had said before, when I requested, you get an interim hearing.
Okay.
Why are you back here?
Right.
So he said to both of us, come back and answer everything in this RSA, your reasons why my family should be with the grandchildren, and the father why it would hurt them. So I answered everything. And again, now why did he deny it? Oh, so his decision at the time was my oldest granddaughter had left the home and immediately called me because she couldn't have contact with her mother. She called me and said, I ran away from home. You know, can you come? Can you help me? You mad at me? She thought we were mad at them. Mm. That's why there was no contact. I said, oh my God, I was so thrilled. I immediately drove to Rochester and got her. So she was with me, and so then I filed the grandparent visitation to get back to it. And losing my train of thought.
How old is she at this time? Was she 18?
Nara was 17.
Oh, when she ran
was
away.
17, yes, when she left. And I drove her back. I lived in Brentwood, drove her back and forth to Rochester High School every day so she could continue.
Yeah, so we're on that second motion you filed?
So we're on the second motion, and I go in there, and the judge's decision after hearing my case and then what the father's saying says, okay, well, what if I talk to Hannah, the younger one, who's 15? And he said, asked if I would agree to that, and I thought, yes, great, you know. And the father said, oh, okay. So then I said to the judge, well, you know, she's living with him, and she'll be brainwashed or told what to say. And the judge said, well, I'll be able to figure that out. So it came back. He did speak with her, and she said that she didn't want to see us right now. Have no reason why. I think because she's in survival mode. She has to go back and live there. And from the abuse that happened with Nara and the psychological abuse that the father has done on these girls, do
you know, to your best of it, is a guardian ad litem involved with this at all?
No, he hasn't been.
So
for years.
There's nobody that can intermediate in between or
No.
examine the children in that...
You know, it doesn't work,
right.
Kevin. It doesn't work. DCIF would go in there, and they would question the girls with the father and the girlfriend right around the corner. And those girls feared those two. There was some real psychological...
Now, this is according to the oldest daughter? I mean, how would you know that?
From her.
Okay.
From stories from them. And so so they come back and say, oh, well, everything's fine and dandy, you know. I would even, at the time they were visiting and coming and staying with me, and Melissa had custody, but visitation, the girls would tell us things that were going on over there, and I would write or call the guardian ad litem and say, you've got to get over there and talk to those girls. That never went anywhere. DCYF, it never went anywhere.
But focusing back on you,
okay.
I'm still concerned why the courts don't allow you, your grandparents, your grandparents.
Because I am Melissa's mother, period. That's it. So they take these girls away from my loving, structured family, their aunt and uncle, who they're very close with, and I told the judge, they will not see their mother. They're coming to stay with me or visit me and their grandfather. You know,
and the courts wouldn't hear it. They would have no part of it.
He wouldn't have any part of it. I said, I swear that they won't. You know, they need to see us, and we love them.
Right.
Those girls lived with us and their mother for quite a few months at one time.
And you did save that court order for
yes.
So not allowing them to see you.
Yes.
So where do we go from here? Are you going to file another motion, or are you told not to file motions? Do you need?
No, I wasn't told not to file a motion, but where is it going to get me?
Right. Were you told to get a psychological evaluation?
No. In fact, the judge in the order said that I was very creditable, and it appeared to be a loving relationship.
But denied.
But denied.
So if somebody
And
wants...
I had material, letters from them, I miss you, Nana. I had the emails from the father that it
Right.
was great at my house. I had paperwork to back it up, and yet the father goes in with hearsay, and he would say, oh, they don't want to see them right now. Prove it, you know. So that was...
So I guess what we're trying to find, you know, a bottom to this. You know,
Yes.
you need to be able to see your grandchildren. She needs to be
Yes.
able to see her children, or get this resolved somehow. If you were going to fix this legislatively, how would you fix this?
Oh, gosh.
I
don't know.
Do you think the courts need to be fixed?
Oh, most definitely.
Well,
Most definitely.
Where do we begin?
I think judges need to be elected by the people, or not just in there for life, just serve a certain term. There's something with the political corruption that is going on, I believe.
Interesting. Well, we did try to pass the ACR 26.
I know.
That did not pass. I don't think the people understood the value to that. Well, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show. Are there any final thoughts that you wanted to get out there?
Just don't give up, you know. I don't know, what goes around comes around.
Right.
And
Well,
I just hope that my granddaughter will see the light and leave home like the oldest one did and try and contact us.
right.
I don't know what else to say, Kevin, that
I
I feel the courts have just shut me right down,
Right.
that I have no other option.
And of course, are you married?
Yes.
And he obviously isn't allowed. Both of you aren't allowed to.
Right, my whole family. Their aunt and uncle, who are 29 and 27, that they're very, very close with, of course, a generation closer to these girls.
Maybe I misunderstood them. Are they in communication with her?
No.
Oh, they're not in communication with her. Okay. That's interesting. Well, I'm going to close the show right now.
Okay.
And I want to thank you both for coming on.
Thank you
and,
for listening.
Absolutely. We'll get the story out there, and hopefully if there's somebody out there that can help.
Yes, please.
We'll try to get them out there. And have you thought about filing a petition with the state?
No, I
A
haven't.
grievance?
No.
There was a committee called the Redress of Grievance Committee. I don't know
Yes, I'm familiar.
Yeah, I don't know if the Democrats
That
will
you're
allow
working
that to
with that.
continue, but
I know.
we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, I want to thank you very much for watching Speak Up. You know, everybody has a history, and we all understand that. There are stigmas that go with certain things and with certain people, and people have to live under that. I think the burdens that these people have from being just separated from their children, in my opinion, is child abuse. I'm just a common guy. But we're seeing this over and over and over again. If you think you can help, please contact me at speakupnh@gmail.com or write me a letter, Kevin Avard at Speakup, 68 Bartimus Trail, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03063. And if you want to sponsor this show and help people like this, please get in contact with me. Until next week. Every day, citizens around the country are faced with new dilemmas. Dilemmas that affect them profoundly. Whether it's injustice, discrimination, falling through the cracks, scandals and cronyism, balances of power, ethics, religious freedoms, state versus citizens, and unfunded mandates, and the list goes on and on and on. Welcome to Speak Up. It's directed at those who have fallen through the cracks, and it gives them a voice. It's your turn to speak up, to stand up and fight back.